Ladies and gentlemen, now I'm sure quite a few of you will have had an experience like this where you go to open a crystal, right, and in your head you've got like a list of all the best champions, the gods, the demigods, the top options in your head that you really want from that crystal, but also in mind you have some of like the famous memes like Colossus, Hulkbuster, Iron Patria, you know, the champions that are well known for being just absolutely rubbish. But there are some champions that kind of like fall in between, and when you stop a crystal and when one of those characters comes up, these are champions that kind of prompt the response of like, you know, I totally forgot that champion was even in the game, but I'm not really that happy to see this character, because this character, you know, just doesn't really do much comparatively speaking. And that is the list of champions that we're going to be talking about today, boys. The 15 most forgotten about champions in Marvel Contest of Champions that when you see, you're kind of like, you know, I didn't really want that, man. Okay, it could have been somebody a little bit better. But let me know in the comments section below, is there a champion you always forget is in the game? Who is the most forgettable champion for you? I'm interested to get thoughts and perspectives, man, because I've compiled a list of champions that even sometimes, man, I don't even consider. I just forget these champions even exist. And then, you know, they pop up in the crystal and I'm like, oh man, that champion is in the game after all. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, at spot number 15 today, we have a champion that definitely caught me by surprise a little bit. Punisher 2099. This champion just has not made many waves in the game at all. He's been, you know, annoying on defense a few times, and when he pops up, I just remember his existence, but sometimes, man, I just forget that he's a playable champion in the game. He's just very underwhelming, and it's just I just have never seen anybody with like a fully maxed out Punisher 2099 on their profile, man. So yeah, just a very forgotten about champion there. But number 14, we have a champion that isn't necessarily like super bad, and I know some people and I would say a very small group of people do like this character, but I feel like she's one of the champions that really gets forgotten in a lot of scenarios, and that is, of course, Sarlacc, ladies and gentlemen. Sarlacc came around the wave of Iceman and Archangel the same month, and Iceman and Archangel are just, you know, such powerful, like, famous mutant champions. Everybody loves them, but nobody really cares about Sarlacc just because her power gain is a little bit rubbish, and her power control is, it's much better on a lot of other champions. So she gets left in the dust, but if the opponent doesn't have kind of any ways to gain passive power, then she can sometimes be a little bit useful, but she isn't very popular in a lot of scenarios. But she's by no means the worst champion, man. She's alright. I just think a lot of people, myself included, do often forget that she is in this game. But speaking of the mutant class and champions that people forget about, and this is definitely one that pops up to ruin a few people's day. It's Old Man Logan, lads. Old Man Logan with the Sabertooth synergy. He's got some alright regeneration there, but when you see him pop up in the crystal, you're just like, that's not X23 or any good mutant, man. And you just know that he's probably just going to stay at rank 1, or, you know, the simplest rank for a lot of people for the longest amount of time. So you're like, oh man, it burns a little bit when you open this lad from a 5-star. So he's definitely at number 13 on the list. And then at number 12, we have a champion that ruins a lot of days for people that are fairly early on in the game, and this champion not available as a 5 or 6-star, and quite often, man, I just forget that he's even a playable champion at this point. It is Superior Iron Man. This dude is just, you know, never really a fun time to see pop up, because Iron Man isn't the best character. Both of these champions haven't been buffed in like the longest time / ever. So yeah, they're just not really doing much, mate. So when you see him pop up in the crystal, you're like, you know, I didn't really want that, mate. The cosmic classes, you know, it's got so much infinite, so much pizzazz, so many crazy champions that Superior Iron Man, it's just one champion that I always forget just exists in this game nowadays. So yeah, he's number 12 there. And speaking of kind of reskinned characters, another one that I think is highly forgotten as well is the what is it, the Marvel Now version of Magneto. And this is one, maybe you forgot about this character and forgot he existed, man, because I think he's Definitely one of those champions that's just very easy to forget that he's actually a character in this game, and I'm very glad they haven't continued to, you know, double up on the Magnetos like they have with Cyclops for some very, very stupid reason. But yeah, maybe he's best forgotten, man. He's definitely best left at the 4-star version, and I think what's the difference between him and Magneto? I think this one has, like, okay, so this one I think has a slightly different urgent refraction, so his damage cap, I think, is only triggered when his health is low in comparison to the other one, which always has the damage cap active. I think that's the difference between them. I think White Magneto also has like slightly more stats as well, by like 1 or 2% if I remember from like a very old comparison video. But yeah, dudes, I just forget he's in the game half the time. But anyway, at number 10, we also have another mutant champion. Now, this is Gambit, man. I feel like Gambit is just a very forgotten about character in Marvel Contest of Champions, and I don't want it to be that way. I love Gambit. I think he's such a badass champion, and with a few tweaks, he could be so much better. But I really think the only good use for Gambit in the game at the moment is like that first chapter of Variant, where you've got the power reserve nodes. He's so good for, so he's not bad to get like once as a 4 or 5-star champion, but he's really only good for like those super cheese mode nodes. But he's great for those, man. If you haven't already seen some Gambit potential in Variant, definitely look into it, boys. But I forget, like, he's even part of the game half of the time, lads. Now, at number 9, it's really a champion that I've kind of already forgotten about, but I really, really want to forget about, man. Diablo. Diablo, he just needs to be forgotten about, man. Just delete this champion from the game. That'd be a great time. But I'm somewhat hopeful of, like, a Diablo revamp sometime in the future, because I noticed this champion doesn't appear a single time in Act 6 so far, so maybe they're not going to put the champion in any permanent content so that when it comes to a revamp, they don't have to, like, rebalance him. And I really hope he gets a revamp, man. Diablo's been one of the biggest misses. He's been so forgotten about in comparison to all the other characters this year. And I look to, hopefully, just totally forget he exists, man. That'd be really, really great there. But Diablo, I feel like he's kind of already made the list, boys. Already made the list, but I might be a little bit biased in the Diablo hate club there. But anyway, at number 8, I've got Vulture. Vulture is one of those champions you just never really see like anybody playing. There are some occasional quirky videos, and he was quite good for like Havoc last month as well. I had a bit of fun playing about with my Vulture, man. I swear I'm probably the only person on YouTube that messes about with Vulture. But we also did like a rank up and gameplay video for Vulture. I believe it was around December time, and we had quite a fun time, man. We had quite a fun time. This guy, he is a little bit of a noodle though, and he's certainly, you know, when you look at the tech class and some of the top options there, not really the champion that anybody wants to see. But hey, maybe with Human Torch next month, man, people are going to remember he exists a little bit more, and maybe he's going to be quite good for those matchups, because he's got thermal absorption, man. Absorb all those incinerates and maybe have a pretty good time, so we'll have to see what happens there, man. But I've got high hopes that the Vulture meta is coming, lads. You know, we've got Havoc, we've got Human Torch, Vulture is getting all these crazy matchups, so he's you know, he might be rising through the ranks there. But anyway, at number 7, boys, we have the infamous Netflix Daredevil. If I can just find him in the roster, man. Netflix Daredevil is a champion that if I hadn't pulled him, like, I think it's like 3 times on the free-to-play account, I would definitely just forget that this character exists. I mean, Daredevil is just so out of the current meta at the moment that he is just a champion that gets really, really sidelined. And the Netflix version, I often just forget that he's a playable champion in this game, but he's never a champion that anybody really wants to see pop up, man. He just kind of ruins people's day there. So yeah, Netflix Devil, I guess he's not the worst, man. He's got a lot of armor breaks, a lot of debuffs there, and some people have done some I think Sweeter did a very quirky, like, Realm of Legends Wolverine takedown by stacking up all the armor breaks and then using, I think it's the slight heal reverse mastery to, like, reverse healing and gradually chip away at Wolverine. So yeah, props to Sweeter on that one, man. Really, really great work. But at number 6, we have Civil Warrior. Now, Civil Warrior is a champion that, in terms of his look and animation, I don't hate. I think this champion, he looks so badass. His animations are awesome, but everything else about the champion is a little bit meh. I've always kind of described Civil Warrior as gimped Vision, and I think that's the perfect description, because Vision does everything Civil Warrior does, but a little bit better, and also has you know, solid immunities there. So yeah, I'd love kind of a big Civil Warrior revamp or buff at some point, because he does need a little bit more justice there, man. Definitely has suffered from it, but I feel like just a lot of people, man, just forget this this lad exists until he pops up, and then you're like, you know, I just didn't really want that, mate. I'm not too fussed about a 5-star Civil Warrior there. But anyway, at number 5, we have Venom Paul. Now, Venom Paul, I don't think I have a 5-star Venom Paul yet, man. He's one of the older champions, and I think especially with the what is it? The revamp and buff to Carnage and Venom. Venom Paul has just been left in the dust, mate. And if it weren't for fighting him, I just feel like we never, ever see Venom Paul in this game at all. He just needs, like, a kind of revamp equal to that of the original Venom gang, because they did such a good job last year around the movie. But I just, you know, I so often just forget this champion, like, exists. So he's just a little bit quirky, man. But I think he's got some cool animations. He looks really menacing and badass as well. So I'd love to see kind of a Venom Paul revamp at some point. That'd be really, really nice. And then at number 4, man, we have everybody's favorite tech champion. And to be honest, man, I think a lot of people purposely forget this lad exists just because he has some horrible, horrible fighting animation sound effects. Like Howard the Duck sounds are some of the most like ear-screechingly painful in the game, man. He's just like in constant pain and agony when you're beating into him, and it just does not sound like a good time at all. But honestly, man, I think so many people, myself included, just forget that Howard the Duck, the mech version, is a playable champion. He's a bit of a meme at this point, man, but I don't feel like he's been memed like too much in the last year. So we need more Howard the Duck memes, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, I feel like he's a super, super forgettable champion, and I just whenever I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, man, there is that version of Howard the Duck in the game. Whereas I feel like Venom the Duck, because he's a much more of a banger of a champion, is one of those champions that, you know, has been circulated a little bit more, and you're a little bit more excited to see in comparison. But number 3 and the top 3, man, I feel like are really, really forgotten about champions for the most part. So champion number 3 on this list is Joe Fixit, man. Joe Fixit, what is this character, mate? Why does he exist in the game? I do not know, lads. I do not know. I think he was one of the earliest, like, quirky characters that they decided to do, and everybody just forgets about Joe Fixit, man. He used to be a meme. He used to be quite a prominent meme. He used to have high value in the meme community, but with the shift toward 5- and 6-star champions and him being discontinued, it's just like, you just don't see Joe Fixits anymore, boys. You just don't see him. But when ever he pops up in a 4-star crystal, it's, you know, not really a great time for anyone, man. So yeah, Joe Fixit, I would say, is number 3 at the list. But then we have the top 2, and I think these are very, very forgotten about champions, man. War Machine, dude, I never remember War Machine's in the game at all. I never remember he's an actual playable champion. I can't remember the last time I saw, like, any War Machine gameplay on YouTube. He's just not a champion that anybody plays, because he's a massive noodle. He's very, very underwhelming. He can be a bit annoying to fight, man, and if you do Labyrinth of Legends, you're going to be reminded of his existence, because he's a bit of a pain in the ass to fight there. But I think for the most part, man, he's just a pretty forgettable champion day to day. So yeah, RIP War Machine, man. And then at number 1, boys, we have probably, I don't know if it's one of the biggest flops, but one of the bigger flops of the skill class, and that's Falcon, mate. I feel like everybody just forgets about Falcon. I forget about Falcon all of the time. Whenever I see him, I'm just constantly reminded that this champion's in the game. But I don't know, I just forget that Falcon exists so often, man. So yeah, I think Falcon is, well, I mean, this list, you know, doesn't really have any serious order, to be fair, lads. But these are just 15 champions that I'm just like, what are they doing in the game, boys? These champions, most of them probably should be discontinued from the crystals, because, you know, they're just not really doing anything exciting with them for the most part. But Falcon, I guess he's got some alright stuff he can do. We did that, like, Falcon versus Core gameplay video a few months ago, and that was a little bit of a fun one, man, and we still need to deliver on that 5-star Falcon rank up and gameplay at some point. But I just forget that champion is even a champion so much of the time. But also, maybe Taskmaster could be an additional one that makes the list, because, yeah, I forget about that lad's existence as well quite a bit. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on who in your opinion, is the champion that you most forget exists in Marvel Contest of Champions? Again, the game's got like 140 champions now, so there are definitely a few that go out of sight, out of mind. And let me know in the comments section who that champion is for you. But aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Aside from that, take care, and I hope that you have an absolutely fantastic day.